that's quite a common reaction. A child might love reading. It doesn't mean that they like writing. It demands a lot more effort and there is accuracy. So this negative feeling is generally generated by the fact that they lack confidence in their writing abilities. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways to help your child become more of a confident writer. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Hello everyone, this is Yoshito Shimamori. I'm the founder of the Library for Multilinguals, and on this channel I share with you tips to help you teach your child to read and write in your home languages in a fun way. So if this is something that interests you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon. Writing is not easy, and the first reason why a child might be lacking confidence is because there's so many rules to remember. Reading regularly does help familiarizing with the spelling of words or the shape of different characters, but it's not enough. We need to write to be able to remember everything in details. Just by looking at the words, we pick up on the main aspect of a word. We don't pay attention to all the details. It's by writing that we go through every single detail that are necessary to write a letter, a word, or a character. Before I share with you an activity to do that in a fun way, let's have a look at this graph. It shows how we retain information. Right at the start, when we learn something, the memory of it is at 100%. And as time goes, it diminishes and we start forgetting this information. So we need to remember it again. And once we have a look at it or we learn it again, it goes back up to 100%. And you can see that each time we remember something goes back at 100%, but the rate at which we forget it is slower and slower. With copying, we're going to try to do the same thing. So repeating the copying activity several times so that our children remember it better. Because as it's explained in the book, Make It Stick, the forgetting is key to remember it better. So if our children forget something and then remember it or reminded of it, it's going to help them stick this memory better in their brain. How do we make our children focus more? So to focus on something, we need to find it interesting, or it needs to be serving a purpose. We need to think that it's going to help us in the future. And that's probably the advantage that the school language or the majority language has over the home language. When you speak the home language or when you read and write it, you can function in society. With the home language, it's not necessarily the case. It might be helpful in the future, but right now it's not that helpful. At least that's probably what your child is thinking. So we're going to try to make the activity relevant to your child. And for this, I'm going to share with you one of the activities from my book, The Parent's Guide to Raising Multiliterate Children. It's an activity where your child is going to be ordering you what they want to eat for lunch, for example. So the way this activity is organized is that you have a order sheet where you have, for example, as a starter, I want this and that. So ideally, all the dishes in this menu need to be customizable. So you can have different choices of starters. You can have a sandwich or a pizza or something like that, where your child can choose what they want to put in or on top of it. And it's the same for drinks, desserts. You need different options for everything. The more choice you have, the better. And in this box, at the bottom, you have all the options. So that's why your child is going to be writing, that's where you are going to be writing the different options. And your child is just going to be copying from this box what they want to eat. So for example, as a starter, I want, and you can have 3 choices, but you can write them either in one part of the box, or you can put them randomly here and there so your child looks a bit more around. So here, what's empowering is that they can choose what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat. Sometimes what they don't want to eat is actually better, because if, for example, they hate mushrooms and they get not to eat any mushroom, where usually they have to eat a bit, they'll be really happy. If they can have ice cream for desserts when generally they can't have ice cream, they'll be really happy as well. So it's helping them see the purpose of writing. if they write, it will have an effect on the reality, and that's going to be something they enjoy.
De l'eau, non. De la... Yes!
Yes!
Limonade!
Vas-y, écris. If your child is quite a confident writer, you can have another display where you have some options here in the box, and you have different words that they might want to use, and here that's where they're going to write everything. And you can even say that if you don't understand what they've written, you can't serve them. If there is a mistake, you can't serve them. So it's going to help them see that it's important to be accurate, and they're going to pay attention to it. And on this template, you can see that my son has chosen lemonade, that he can't drink during mealtime. And for the dessert, he chose ice cream.
Oh oh! Et comme il y en a deux, qu'est-ce qu'on met à la fin là?
S. S.
Vas-y.
Là?
Non, boule. C'est deux boules que tu veux.
Là?
Oui.
Deux boules de quoi?
Glace.
Glace.
Ok.
Do you want tables of glass? C'est bien.
If you're interested in discovering another activity that helps your child build writing confidence while writing, I invite you to check out my new YouTube channel that I share with Annalisa and Uta. It's called Activities for Multilingual Families, and we go over specific activities and see all the benefits they have. And while you're there, if you like it, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell. The second way you can help your child become more confident when writing in their home language, or any language to be honest, is by empowering them with the knowledge and making them aware that they know everything they need to be able to write accurately, or that at least they're working on it. In a previous video, I shared with you how dictations were useful to do that and how to make dictations in a fun way. Today, I'm going to explain how you can help them proofread, because the proofreading is actually quite important to get things accurate. You don't need to get things accurate in the first go. It can be after proofreading, and this is quite key. For this activity, you're going to help your child proofread their dictation. So once they are done, you give them up to 5 clues to correct their mistakes. So it needs to be reminders or questions, but you don't give them the answer straight away. They need to be able to go through the thinking process. So it can be questions such as, do you remember when you need a capital letter to a word? If, for example, your child has swapped some letters, you can use words that you know that they know how to spell to guide them. And say, for example, do you remember how to write bear for the sound A, where there is E and A together? And in which order they need to write them. So this can help them proofread and focus on certain mistakes. And I would say don't give them more than 5 types of mistakes to proofread or to find, because otherwise it's going to feel overwhelming. So between 3 and 5 is a good number. And the key thing here is to help them bridge the gap between what they know and what they need to correct. So you're giving them a step. So focus on this mistake. So I'm giving you this clue. And this step in between where they are and correcting the mistake is going to be reinforcing their knowledge and helping them see how to correct different mistakes. So what's really important here is that you help them proofread, because sometimes you tell your child, okay, now you've done the dictation, check your mistakes or proofread your mistakes. And then you correct them and they correct it themselves. By giving them a step in between where you help them, you guide them on the type of mistakes, they're a bit more focused and they go through the thinking process. And also by finding their own mistakes, they're going to be more proud of themselves, and it's better than correcting something when your parent or your teacher has pointed, there's a mistake here, what's the mistake? You guide them through the thinking process and they find them themselves. And for the mistakes that they couldn't know because, for example, it's an irregular verb or anything that they wouldn't know, you leave it for after. And that becomes a learning experience. So you can go over it and introduce new things. So, for example, new prefixes or suffixes that they didn't know about, that they haven't seen how to spell them. Or it could be a new rule that you introduce through this. And because they're not supposed to have found this mistake, because you didn't point it out, or also because they didn't know before, they'll be more willing to hear your explanations. Because otherwise what happens often is that when they see that they get things wrong, there is like a wall, and they'll be disappointed, and they don't really want to listen to why they got it wrong. The third way you can help your child become more confident when writing is by helping them realize that they have improved. It's one thing to hear from your parent or teacher or whoever that you have improved. It's another thing, a more empowering thing, to realize it yourself, to see with your own eyes that you can actually do a lot better now than you used to. And for that, we're going to use a time capsule. So generally, a time capsule is a box where you put something from today that you're going to discover in many years' time. And you go back on, for example, articles in newspapers or toys that you used to play with, etc. Here is going to be a piece of writing that you're going to use that's really representative of what your child is able to write, how accurate they are, how much they can write. And you put that in a box and you keep it for a few months so your child can discover it and see how they've progressed. And when you do that, you can, of course, point out a few things like, do you remember you used to make that kind of mistakes? And now, look, it's easy for you to write this word, or any kind of pointers that you can make and that your child can realize and see from themselves. I would say leave a few months so that there is enough time for your child to progress, but not too much, like a year or two, because a year or two after, it's normal that you can write better. So it needs to be a right balance. So a few months is quite good. So these are 3 ways to help your child become a more confident writer. Let me know in the comments what tips you preferred, and also if you do anything else to help your child become confident when writing. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to put a thumb up, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and ring the bell icon. And if you know anyone who would benefit from this episode, make sure to share it with them. Bye everyone!